Hello, I'm Laura from The Butterfly Mother. Please subscribe to our channel for videos about parenting, mental health and emotional well-being. And today I want to talk about the emotional overwhelm that we can feel as parents and share a few tips on how best to deal with it. If you ask people about the most difficult thing they've faced as a new parent, they might talk about tiredness or potty training or dealing with tantrums, and all of those things are really difficult and are really hard work. But to me, the most difficult part of being a parent is how magnified all of your emotions are and how your emotions move up and down all the time. This is really tiring, really overwhelming, and something I really didn't expect. Dealing with a mental health issue alongside being a new parent, that can exaggerate these feelings and make them even more difficult to deal with. We all experience a wide range of emotions throughout every single day, usually throughout every single hour. But if we're not parents to young children, our emotions tend to stay on a bit more of an even keel. We might get mildly irritated in traffic, or we might have an argument with a friend, but generally speaking, our emotions stay much more manageable and much more balanced. However, if you are parenting a child under 3, I would say that you experience every broad spectrum of emotion, sometimes within the same 15-minute period. I feel everything from frustration to love, to embarrassment, to anger, to sadness, to peace, to joy, back to frustration again, all within 10 or 15 minutes. And that is really difficult on your mind, especially if it's something that you're not used to. And quite frankly, I wasn't used to dealing with emotions going up and down with such frequency and such severity, and I found it really, really overwhelming. You've also got to bear in mind that you are essentially mummy on demand. It is the relentlessness of parenting that can sometimes be the most difficult part. So basically it never ends. You're parenting from the day your child is born. You are always a parent. You are always having to think of them first. And even when you get a physical break from your children, maybe you're lucky enough to have a babysitter take them away for a short time, you still can't ever really relax and really get back to who you were before, because your mind is always on them. And that is fine, that is beautiful, that is the point of being a parent. It is going to change you. But those emotions and that relentlessness can be something that really takes a bit of time to get used to. So what can we do if we're struggling with our emotions as a parent? I think the first thing is to recognise them, to recognise that they're emotions, to recognise that they are temporary, and to not try to fight them or run away from them, to just feel whatever we want to feel without judging ourselves. I read somewhere that every emotion in the human mind has a lifespan of 5 seconds, and that gave me quite a lot of comfort, because that made me realise, okay, I might feel dreadful right now, but I might feel totally different in 5 seconds. And that really gave me the freedom to allow myself to feel emotions without dwelling on them too much, without getting caught up in one particular feeling, but instead just to let emotions go through me as the day goes on without resistance. Number 2 is to take physical time away if possible. Everyone knows this, but it's definitely worth reminding that if you are really, really struggling with a small child, make sure they're safe and leave the room for 10 minutes. That is not a sign of a bad mother. In fact, that's a sign of a good mother, because it means you're taking time for yourself to calm yourself, to regulate your own emotional response before going back in and dealing with whatever the situation is. Nurture your identity, and don't forget that just because you've become a parent, it doesn't mean you're not still you. Do all of the same hobbies you used to do, if maybe on a smaller scale. Make sure you take time to see your friends and family. Just make sure you still take time for you. That can make a massive difference to your emotions during those first couple of years. Number 3 is pretty much linked onto that, and that is self-care. It is something that we talk about in mental health advocacy all the time, and self-care is different for every single person. There is no sort of self-care rule book. It's whatever makes you feel good, it's whatever brings you peace or brings you relaxation, whatever fills your cup when it's empty. Make sure you find the time to do it. And I'm not talking about going on a whole weekend spa break every month, because that is just not possible if you've got an under 3 or an under 5-year-old. I'm just talking about 10 minutes at the end of the day. Perhaps someone else can look after your child, perhaps your husband can take over the bathing. or whatever it is, maybe they're asleep, maybe they're napping. Just take those 10 minutes to do whatever it is that refuels you. The best piece of advice I ever received was from a friend shortly after my son was born, and that was, everything's a phase, even the good stuff. And that helped me so much, because in those early years, everything really is a phase. You might be really struggling with sleep deprivation, maybe your baby is teething or unwell, and it definitely feels in the middle of the night like this is never going to end and this is your life forever. But it does end, and every single phase passes. And the important thing is, everything's a phase, even the good stuff. So if you are in a wonderful, blissful time, then make sure you acknowledge that as well and absorb all the joy from that, because it might not last forever. Next is to be present. So be present as much as possible, especially during those lovely, peaceful moments, rather than worrying about what you're going to do next or what's happened earlier on in the day. Let go of the parent guilt. You do not need to love being a mum every minute of every day. I can't tell you how much it has helped my mental health since I gave up trying to be happy all the time, trying to be grateful all the time, trying to enjoy parenting all the time. Because although there is loads of stuff I love about being a mum, there's stuff that I don't like, and that's okay. It's alright to acknowledge that. You don't need to beat yourself up about it. And last but not least, it does get easier. And people say that when you're only in the first couple of months of being a parent. That might be a little bit premature. It takes a little while to get significantly easier, in my experience, but it does get easier. Once your child starts to be more independent and do more for themselves, that overwhelm is a lot reduced, and your emotions and the roller coaster of feelings all day long it evens out a lot, and it becomes a lot easier to do. I've written several blog posts on this topic, and I will link a couple down below if you want further reading, and I would love you to subscribe to my blog and also subscribe to this channel for more videos about parenting, mental health and emotional overwhelm.